Savage had that best drop at that time. What is this? Queasy, Vino!
You're about to witness one of the greatest fights in esports history. But first, let's go back so that we can fully understand the significance of this moment and the circumstances and decisions that happened which led to the greatest fight of all time. Let's first look at the significance of the FNCS Invitational. To do this, let's go on a journey of Fortnite's in-person history. Fortnite's first in-person event was the Ninja Vegas 2018 tournament in the spring of 2018. Then Epic Games started to really pick it up themselves with the summer and fall skirmishes, which had huge prize pools on them. But these prize pools were nothing compared to what was about to be announced next.
This is your road to the Fortnite World Cup.
Epic Games announced the Solo and Duo World Cup and that there would be a $30 million prize pool in the event. These two tournaments were legendary and both generated extremely hype moments.
Your Fortnite World Champion, Booga!
After the World Cup, Fortnite looked to continue their LAN events, but this time through DreamHack, where Fortnite ran an event at DreamHack Anaheim, which the EU player Mr. Savage won. But then, as most things in 2020,
identify the cause of the mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
There are fears a rapidly spreading virus has reached Australia.
the pandemic completely stopped LAN play, and the community had to adapt to purely online esports. And the worst part of this is it looked like Fortnite was in it for the long haul. Unlike games like Valorant or League of Legends, there needs to be 100 players in a professional match, so quarantining that many people would just be logistically impossible. So the entire community had to sit back and watch as Valorant players got to play in Reykjavik, and many other esports were heading back to in-person competition. But slowly, small LANs started to emerge, first in Sweden at the end of 2021, and then in Dallas, hey look, that's me, and Sweden again in summer of 2022. LANs are starting to get back into the full swing, but only through DreamHacks. This is only the case though until May of 2022 when Epic Games announced the FNCS Invitational, where they would fly out the best performing teams in the FNCS from every region to North Carolina to compete for a prize pool of $1 million. This is the first Fortnite major since 2019, and the community was more than excited for it. Now that you understand the context of the tournament, let's move on to the 4 players involved in this fight. Let's first start off with Vino. Vino started his career late into the life cycle of Fortnite, making his first heats in the solo FNCS. Vino slowly improved, making grands in Season 5, but his breakout season would be in Season 7, where he came 2nd in the FNCS All-Star Showdown and 5th in the FNCS following. Vino had a bad end to Chapter 2, failing to make the Grand Finals, but he was ready to dominate the next chapter. Starting in Season 1 with Joe, Vino came 12th in the Grand Finals. Vino then continued to find his groove, but this time with Aqua in Season 2, and they won the whole FNCS. Unfortunately, wrist injury stopped Aqua from playing in Season 3, so despite winning an FNCS, Vino still had to look for teammates and he found Queasy. And look at that, we're at Queasy. So before we move on, let's go back to how Queasy got here. Compared to Vino, we need to go way back to get to the start of Queasy's career. Queasy started his career off in the World Cup, making some money. Queasy then followed this up by immediately making the trio FNCS heats. Squads was weaker for Queasy, but he followed it up with his best performance yet, placing 2nd in the duo FNCS with Trilla. Queasy continued to be a top EU player, making FNCS Grand Finals consistently, but he couldn't do well in them. This all changed in Season 6 though. Playing out of the Dam split with Trillix and Jerky, Queasy won the entire FNCS off of his height-dominant playstyle. Queasy continued to dominate EU, coming 15th in Season 7, 8th in Season 8, and 3rd in the Grand Royale. When Chapter 3 came around, Queasy needed to find a new duo and found Hen, and they immediately dominated, winning the FNCS in Season 1 and coming 8th in Season 2. But Queasy wasn't satisfied with this, and he teamed up with Vino for Season 3. This team was dominant as it was composed of the Season 1 and Season 2 FNCS champions. This team backed up their hype, winning multiple cash cups and coming 3rd in the FNCS Grand Final. Then Season 4 happened. In Season 4, Epic Games got rid of the regional FNCSs in return for the divisional cups, but this didn't stop Queasy and Vino from winning these on both their regions of EU and across the pond in NA. After winning the Elite Cups in NA, Queasy and Vino were ready to continue their domination of NA, but this time in front of the whole world. Now let's move over to the Polish boys, starting with Seti. Seti started off his competitive career back in the World Cup, making a little money in both solos and duos. Seti then followed this up, making money in trio FNCS and making FNCS heats and duos. Seti only continued to improve, making his first Grand Finals again in Season 3, and then he made it back in Season 4. Season 5, Seti really made a name for himself with his new trio of Teak and Cami. And now that we're at Cami, let's go back and take a look at how Cami got to this point himself. Cami, like Seti, made his first money in the World Cup, and then Cami made some good money in a few solo cash cups, but his big break would really come in Season 2, where he made the Grand Finals with the Cubex and came 5th, winning $20,000. Cami then proceeded to make the next 2 solo Grand Finals, placing solidly in both. Then in Season 4, Cami came out with an impressive 4th place with Raxo and Ardor, winning himself another $20,000. Cami then joined up for Season 5 with Seti and Teak, and this trio dominated Season 5, coming 6th in the Grand Finals. Then Season 6 came about, and this team was looking poised to make another deep FNCS run. But due to some unfortunate events, this team barely missed the Grand Finals, and they were pissed. This team stuck together though through this rough season and came back stronger in Season 7 with a strong 4th place. But in Season 8, this was this team's time to shine. This team won their heat and won the Grand Finals in one of the most dominant ways that has ever happened in Fortnite. In the Grand Royale, this team backed it up with a 2nd place, coming just shy of getting the back-to-back FNCS titles. Then, in the turn of the new chapter, Seti and Cami split. Cami went to go play with Teak, and Seti went to go play with Chapix. Both of these new duos did poorly, and it seemed like there was only one option. Cami and Seti needed to play together. While playing together, they saw immediate results, coming 5th and 9th in the Season 2 and Season 3 FNCSs respectively. And now in Season 4, Seti and Cami did well in the Elite Cups, getting a few top 5s and some other decent placements, but they weren't playing nearly as good as Queasy and Vino going into the Invitational, but there was one thing that kept Seti and Cami in serious contention, and that was their work ethic. Every person going into the FNCS Invitational knew that Seti and Cami had done an ungodly amount of work to prepare for this tournament, and now they were ready to watch. Starting in Game 1, Seti and Cami landed at their drop spot of the Cami split, and Queasy and Vino landed at North Shiny. Both teams loot up and sit inside of the zone to tag up players' backs to find their storm surge. Queasy and Vino find 2 kills on the 2nd zone, and both teams are looking solid going into the endgame. Queasy and Vino take height early on the first moving, but have to fight Peepo and Runa a lot for it. Meanwhile, Seti and Cami are tarping comfortably on the mid ground. Then Cami finds a huge damage beam onto Queasy, and then quickly looks for a play onto the high ground. Queasy and Vino have to give up the height at this point and quickly die, but Seti and Cami were able to dominate this game, winning it with 6 eliminations. Day 1 continued on, and Seti and Cami picked up another win in a 2nd place, this time both from the low ground. Queasy and Vino were able to pick up a win of their own from height, but they could only play height, and their consistency was much worse than Seti and Cami's. Vino and Queasy maintained a small lead after day 1, but their lack of ability to have good games if they can't get the high ground has been their largest weakness over day 1. For Seti and Cami, their biggest weakness was every time the first zone played off their drop spot, they died to Surge. How can both of these teams remedy these errors going into day 2? Seti adapted by rotating off the Cami split later and finding more aggressive Surge in the zone. This strategy still only barely kept them above the Surge, but they could consistently get to the endgame with this improved Surge strategy on day 2. Queasy and Vino didn't make any large adjustments to their playstyle, and they were still a height-dominant team, but at the same time, can you really blame them considering it won them day 1? As day 2 continued on, Seti and Cami kept getting closer and closer to Queasy and Vino until Seti and Cami won Game 11, and going into the final game, they had a 12-point lead on Queasy and Vino. Queasy and Vino have a tournament-winning decision to make. Do they play out their game and try to get 12 more points than Seti and Cami, who have been playing extremely good and could easily win Game 12, or do they take control of their own destiny and land directly on Cami and Seti? Now is probably a good time to remember that there are 48 other teams in this lobby, and normally taking the risk of landing on first place when you're in 2nd is too risky, because 9 times out of 10, going into the 12th game of a tournament, the 2nd place were to die off spawn, they could get completely passed up by the 3rd place or even 4th place team. But here at the Invitational, the gap between Queasy and Vino in 2nd and Cold and Scented in 3rd was 54 points. Basically an insurmountable distance to climb for Scented and Cold. This meant that basically there was no risk besides dying immediately and coming 2nd place for Queasy and Vino, so that meant that the call to contest in Game 12 is entirely based on the confidence to take the fight, and here's what they did.
Had that best drop at that time. What is this? What is this? Queasy, Vino are trying to take it by force!
You only win in one way, and that's taking that crown! Vino is here! Queasy is here! Down goes Seti! It's a big trade! It's a one-on-one! This has to be one of the most explosive head-to-heads we have ever seen! Vino has to get this thirst here. He knows now it means everything. We might as well seal this deal. Why wait?
Bubble shield going out. He's trying to bait it. He's trying to bait the revive so that way Cami might peek. Breaks through the wall. Shot's gonna be fired! And they do it! Because legends are on top!
Looking back at this fight, it was incredibly misplayed by both teams. Seti instantly dies to Queasy. Then Queasy makes one of the largest misplays of his life by editing this ramp before Vino can get to him, and Queasy is picked off in a 2v1 situation. It is now a 1v1 between Cami and Vino. Both players are playing patiently around their peaks, and both players have one build to their name. Cami breaks through the wall and tries to place a ramp in front of him, but instead accidentally places the ramp behind him. Let's pause this right here. Looking at this freeze frame, Vino should win this fight literally every single time. Vino has a massive HP advantage, a right shoulder peek, and a build. So even if he misses the shot, he just places a wall or a ramp over Cami and takes the right shoulder peek to win the Invitational. Instead, Vino completely whiffs, giving Cami the opportunity to win the fight and win the Invitational. This one fight won Seti and Cami the FNCS Invitational and put Seti into the GOAT conversation. This one fight, this one decision created the greatest esports fight of all time.